good morning, everyone. Thank you for your interest in today's session, where I will be taking you through how you can expand your TikTok monitoring even further. Now, some of you might already have this feature on your current platform and some may not, but I hope that today's session can actually help you to gain more insights and the benefits of having TikTok monitoring on your platform. Okay, so before I start out with today's agenda, maybe allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nina, and I am a senior account manager here at Digimind. So prior to this, I was actually in the advertising industry for about 8 years, managing social media strategies and also content for clients. So fun fact is that I was a Digimind client myself and a user before. So I hope that my experience on both sides can actually be very helpful for both clients and projects that I'm currently managing. So just to run you through today's agenda, so it will only take about 30 minutes of your time today. So today's agenda really will be taking you through why TikTok, what's new with our TikTok monitoring feature, how this can actually be relevant for you. I'll also be quickly taking you through a client case that we have. And then last but not least, before we jump to the questions, I'll take you through quickly a demo on our demo environment platform to look at how what kind of insights you can actually gain from TikTok itself. So the relevance of TikTok in today's world. So I think we can all agree that TikTok is the largest social network in the world right now. It's also the fastest growing social media platform. It's really quickly becoming a goldmine for brands with a rapidly growing user base of about 1 billion monthly active users on the platform, with the average user actually opening the app 19 times per day. Now, I must say, I am also guilty of it myself. I'm almost always on TikTok, mainly because there's actually, for every niche subject, there's actually thousands of users creating videos on those specific topics. If you're interested in, say, fitness, right, there's always fitness talk. If you're interested in cleaning or DIY projects, there's always this thing called Clean Talk. If you're also interested in like food, there's also Food Talk. So there's just tons and tons of sources of data that you can actually glean into that can actually act as a gateway to boost your engagement, to develop more quality user-generated content, and also allows you to enable partnerships with relevant influencers. So this is how you actually be able to identify them. And last but not least, I think the most important would be the fact that 50% of Gen Z, they actually use TikTok the same way they would actually use Google. Not just TikTok, but also Instagram, but they would actually search for things on TikTok. And this is something that I've also found myself doing. For example, if you want to find like ideas on date nights or where you want to eat, for me, it's always very easy to just look on TikTok, just do a quick search, because people actually create content and also share their reviews. And the comment section always has like a treasure trove of insights of whether that place is, something that you would recommend, whether they have a bad experience, so on and so forth. So I would say that, in terms of the relevance of TikTok in today's world, it is quickly catching up and it is, fast taking over everyone's lives. Now, in terms of, what we actually do with TikTok, we were actually the first on the market to offer TikTok monitoring. So we first started out with just the hashtags and keywords monitoring over 1 year ago, but we didn't stop there. We do listen to what our clients have been asking and saying, is it just hashtags and keywords monitoring? Can we also, look at, other points of data? So I'm pretty sure, if you're actually in our mailing list, whether you've actually seen some of the release emails last week, or even a bit of a sneak peek in our webinar invitation today, that we have actually added 3 new TikTok functionalities. With this, this can actually help to provide you with the widest TikTok coverage on the market. So one of the things that we've actually just developed would be TikTok account monitoring. Yay, I can hear cheers. So with TikTok account monitoring, you actually be able to, monitor TikTok accounts that are relevant to your strategies, that are relevant to any of your planning in the future. This way you can actually keep track of not just, businesses, but also individuals like content creators, look at what kind of content they're actually pushing out there, or even draw inspiration from your competitors. And this is where you can really measure the activity around your own content, or even the kind of content that's actually trending from other other collaborators or other key opinion leaders, and then from there, you actually be able to look at your own content strategy to look at, okay, what kind of conversations or what kind of content has actually been generating the interest amongst audiences, amongst your targeted audience especially. So complementing the keyword and the hashtag monitoring, this actually allows you to monitor TikTok accounts, but this is actually the same process as your hashtag and keyword monitoring, whereby you add it as any other custom sources. So this basically also falls under your 20 hashtags and keywords monitoring for those who actually already have the TikTok feature. And how this can actually benefit you is, to focus on analysis that's actually relevant to you. And of course, the most important is to compare your competitors' TikTok activities versus yours, and look at, what are some of those missing gaps and opportunities that you can actually jump into. And the next one that we have is TikTok in analytics. So this is where you can actually measure your own account, of course, your competitor's account. And this is where you can actually look at all the different metrics that a lot of our clients have actually been asking for. They want to look at metrics like engagement. They want to look at metrics like the views, the community growth, interactions, and so much more. Now, this is definitely possible. The only thing is that you would have to have the analytics module already activated onto your platform. Now, what this allows you to do is analyze all of your own accounts from one place. So for example, you already have the analytics module. So you are actually already monitoring your own Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So now you can also add TikTok. And then from here, you can actually look at which platform actually garnered the most number of engagement and reach and views, as opposed to when you put it out on Facebook. Maybe it's actually performing better on TikTok because it's more of a short form content, and people on TikTok, that this is something that they usually want to see. You're also able to, of course, measure your own growth and your competitors' TikTok community over time, and just learn what kind of post really garners the highest interactions. And then next up, we also have TikTok now available in Digimind historical search. So how this is really helpful is, for example, you do not have TikTok monitoring currently activated on your platform, right? But you actually ran a campaign, say last month. So with this feature, you're actually able to look at historical data that would be actually available on the DHS search. So again, of course, this is something that is available in the Digimind historical search. So you can go from 30 days to like 2 years. So it really depends on which feature of the DHS that you actually have currently on your platform. So you can conduct past searches using comprehensive data sets to represent like varied audiences. And of course, if this is something that you do want to explore, feel free to approach either myself or any of your customer success managers. So last but not least, how this will actually really add value to you is that, of course, you're able to track and analyze your consumer insights through all the trending hashtags. You can stay relevant and also track the emerging trends on the most approved on TikTok itself. And of course, this is something that I think would be really ideal for a lot of brands, is where you can identify who are some of these influencers or key opinion leaders or content creators that are relevant to your niche topics for a more effective collaboration. I mean, of course, if let's say you do want to, talk about maybe your product is around, around moms. So of course, you want to make sure that the influencer that you're reaching out to actually has a really good fan base of followings of moms with newborns, making sure that the content that they are creating actually reaches out to your targeted audience as well. And of course, to optimize your brand reputation by monitoring your own and your competitor accounts and the garnered engagement. So this is where you can, improve your audience engagement and redirect all your marketing strategy through either the most used hashtags or, the most engaged content. And this is, I would say, like in terms of brand reputation, you'll also be able to better handle crisis situations, because from here, you're actually able to observe all the different types of conversations and engagements around trending hashtags that could be or could not be relevant to your brand or could be relevant to one of your products. And last but not least, of course, to get content inspiration and to keep track of interactions around your own campaigns. So this is where you can really analyze all the different types of campaigns that you launch on TikTok. And you can also get more content inspiration, and they don't necessarily need to be from other brands. They could actually even be from content creators, because some of them, they also do create niche content that could actually be very useful towards either the product or the brand that you're currently trying to market. So next slide, I'll quickly go through with you how one of our clients, Google Indonesia, actually managed to analyze their own campaign performance on TikTok. Now, with regards to Google Indonesia, what they've done was to launch several campaigns on TikTok. And because of that, they need to really understand about their brand visibility and how it actually compared to all their past performances. And of course, the fact that, TikTok is just like booming, they also want to explore whether they also want to have a look at whether there are other opportunities of which that they could take advantage of when they launch all of their campaigns on TikTok. So how this feature actually helped was to help them to understand better the kind of brand coverage and the brand image that they have on TikTok in Indonesia. So this was done through monitoring and also analyzing the performance of their campaign, and also to compare with all of their past campaigns. So from there, they can actually look at, okay, how those views or those interactions have actually grown over time, and also to unlock the keywords that are very familiar to millennials and Gen Z in Indonesia. Now, one of the things to really take note of is to understand who exactly your target audiences are. So of course, if it's millennials and Gen Z, we need to be able to create content that's very familiar to them, that's also very relatable to them, before they can actually want to kind of like affiliate themselves with you. And this is how you can actually better understand the customer's perspective, and that eventually actually helped Google Indonesia to build a human persona for their brand. So some of the key project metrics that we used to analyze during these campaigns were the volume of mentions, the audiences, the interactions, and this was done pre-campaign versus post-campaign. They were also able to look at the volume of the mentioned products, what are some of the top hashtags and the Google related hashtags, top engaging posts, and also mentions trend line. Now, if this is not something, if all of these metrics are not something you're familiar with on the platform, I will definitely take you through it when we get into the demo, like pretty soon. All right, so this is actually our demo platform. So within the demo environment here, just for today's session, I'll actually be taking you through Lavazza. So and also have to look at how we understand brand presences on TikTok itself. So with Lavazza, what we can see is that they do not currently have a TikTok account, but this is something that they could actually consider as part of their future strategy. So of course, before they even start creating their own TikTok account, they can actually measure their current presence. And this is what we can actually see on the left-hand side. So basically everything, all of the widgets on the left-hand side that I'll be taking you through is everything to do with Lavazza, and everything on the right are more for like Starbucks and Lavazza's competitor. So having said that, they need to also understand the kind of conversations that actually exist currently when it comes to Lavazza, when it comes to their current presence on TikTok. And what we can see here is that there are definitely conversations going around on Lavazza in TikTok. So just for today's session, I'm actually just taking you guys through like 1 week's data. Again, this is something you can easily toggle through over here. So on top of that, they also are able to analyze what their competitors are currently doing on TikTok. So over here on the right, what you can see would be what Starbucks is actually currently doing on TikTok. So if you remember earlier, I did mention that, you can actually, we've just added TikTok in our analytics module. So let's say you do have the analytics module on your platform, you can actually add your own TikTok accounts, or your competitors' TikTok accounts, so you can actually create all of the comparisons there. On top of that, now that we've also added, TikTok account monitoring, over here under the mentions feed, you're actually able to look at all of the content under Starbucks TikTok account itself. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be Starbucks Global. For example, you're interested to check within your region itself. So of course you can also monitor, say, Starbucks Singapore or Starbucks Indonesia, Starbucks Malaysia, so on and so forth. Some of the other key metrics that I did mention earlier was also the ability to look at top TikTok hashtags related to the brand. So for example, with Lavazza over here, they're actually able to look at what are some of the top TikTok hashtags that are related to their brand. And from here, they'll be able to kind of like look at what are some of the most mentioned or most utilized hashtags. And then from there, when they do decide to create their own TikTok account or their own TikTok campaigns, they can definitely utilize this for better visibility and outreach. And over here, you can also look at, how all the different types of widgets or even data can actually help to inform them of either their content strategy or what kind of influencers they can actually collaborate with. For example, over here, we have Lavazza drink types mentioned on TikTok. You can see like the most popular drink mentioned on TikTok when it comes to Lavazza was espresso. So from here itself, you'll be able to look at, okay, maybe we can keep creating content about espresso, or the fact that, oh, okay, for cold brew, we don't really have a lot of mentions, but this is something that, they're actually trying to market. So what they can do is, of course, to try to find, influencers that are more relevant to help them create content around cold brew for them to be able to gain more popularity amongst millennials and also Gen Z. Over here, they're also able to look at the different types of sentiment around Lavazza mentions on TikTok. So it's good for us to also see that, okay, when it comes to Lavazza, most of the net sentiment mentions are mostly positive. So with this, they can, of course, also kind of rest knowing that, okay, there's no need for any immediate attention when it comes to crisis monitoring that they also need to react on. At this time, they can just focus on building their brand reputation and also building their brand presence on TikTok. And of course, with that comes along like other widgets and metrics that they are actually able to see. And then last but not least, of course, they can see the overall TikTok SOV of Lavazza versus all of the other coffee players. So just from this graph alone, you can definitely see, the fact that they do not even have a TikTok presence, they can actually see that a lot of people are actually creating content on Lavazza itself, compared to Peet's, who already actually have their own TikTok presence, but they don't really get a lot of conversations around them. So of course, this from here itself, it's easy for them to determine whether or not they should be creating their own TikTok account, just so that they can help to boost their brand presence online as well. And over here, as you can see, these are all mainly user-generated content that is dedicated towards Lavazza. So you've got really interesting ones like how do you pronounce Lavazza? I think if I didn't watch this video, I also wouldn't really know exactly the right way to pronounce. So apparently it's pronounced Lavazza, like you pronounce pizza. So very, very useful content that you can find here, especially on TikTok, surprisingly. So yes, feel free to fire away any questions that you may have. So how do you measure the community in TikTok? I mean, what can we see through the community? So let me go through back up here. So how you can actually measure the community in TikTok is, of course, first you need to have the analytics module on the platform, and then you actually plug in your credentials to your own TikTok, and then you'll be able to look at over here on the left here, which is your community. And what you can see are basically your followers. The next question from Nurul again is, so what is the difference of TikTok in Digimind and listening? So actually there's no difference. Do you mean in Digimind and listening, or listening as a whole? Oh, DHS. Okay. TikTok in Digimind historical search and also live listening. No worries. Okay, so with regards to that question, I can definitely answer. Okay, so for Digimind itself, it is actually live listening. So you actually start from the day that you set up all of your credentials that you first activated the feature. So for example, you decide to activate the feature today. So Digimind platform itself would start crawling all of the information starting from today, right? And then from of course for tomorrow and the rest of the days, and it is actually live listening. But then when it comes to the Digimind historical search, you're actually going back in time, and you're actually going back in time based on the archive data that we actually have on our platform. So it is not necessarily on your own, I would say, like accounts. All right, I hope that answers your question. And the next one, what about historical data pool? How far back can we get data from TikTok for historical data pool on DS? Okay, so for the historical data pool, now we have Digimind historical search. So for that, you can actually go 30 days, or if you have the paid feature for Digimind historical search, you can actually go back as far as 2 years. Another way for us to do it is through historical credits, where you can actually, where you're right, Nor, we can actually pull on the Digimind social platform itself. So you actually have to have all of these credits, then we'll actually be able to go back in time. But what we would need from you would be the queries that you actually want to look at, or the topics that you want to look at, for us to look at the historical data, and also the time period that you want to go back. So that is how the historical credits would then be calculated. Another question from Nurul is, what is mentions trend line? Okay, you can see my screen here again under volume of TikTok posts mentioning Lavazza. So this is actually your mentions trend line. So you're actually able to look at, right now what we're looking at is about 7 days of data. So for the past week, and you can see the trend line, and you can see where those trends have actually peaked. You can see where it has actually dipped. So this is actually very useful to look at, okay, oh, look, there's actually a peak over here. And then from there, you're actually able to look at what that peak really is, and you'll be able to analyze why were there suddenly so much conversations around Lavazza, and whether this is something the marketing team wants to act on, or whether they want to collaborate with a content creator to create more content on. Next question from Nurul is, if we want to use TikTok in listening, do you prefer us to use keywords or hashtags? This is entirely up to you. Let's say, for example, you have a campaign and it is mostly just hashtags, then we would suggest that you focus on that. But let's say it is something more generic. It is either like a trend or a topic of your brand's interest, then you can just go ahead with keywords. So there's no hard and fast rule here, but our team of customer success managers are always here to help you to optimize how you can monitor your projects better on TikTok. And the next question is, do we know the percentage of TikTok conversations publicly available versus whole of TikTok conversations? Okay, now this is a very good question. I think one thing to note is that as a social listening company, we are GDPR compliant. So we are actually only able to track conversations that are publicly available. So if there are, accounts that are dark, or if there are accounts that are private, unfortunately, we won't be able to do that, because again, we do not want to go against the regulations, and we do not want to be blacklisted as a social crawler when it comes to these accounts. Last question that I have. So does it mean we can go as far as 2 years for TikTok using the historical credit? Yes, that as well. So there are two different components here. We have Digimind historical search, where you can also go as far as 2 years as long as you activate that feature. Another one is using historical credits. So for this one, we would actually have to calculate the amount of credits that you would actually require in order for you to go back 2 years. And we would also need the queries or the topic of interest that you would want to go back in time to historically pull. Okay, I hope I have answered everyone's questions, and I'm glad that I did not overrun. So if we don't have any other questions, I think this we can actually end this session. But of course, feel free to actually reach out to me. My name is Nina. So you can actually take note of my email address, nina.ikhwan@digimind.com. So feel free to reach out to me if you do have any other questions with regards to the TikTok session that I've just presented. And if you're also interested in any other features that we actually might have available. So thank you once again for everyone's time.